Hey everyone, my name is Walden, and today I want to talk about my 3-year update learning Japanese. So I've already made 2 videos about me learning Japanese before, for year 1 and year 2, and of course we're on year 3 today. But I don't really want to talk about my language learning approach because it really hasn't changed. Hey, it's Walden from the future. I changed my mind. I want to give a brief overview of the immersion method I use to learn Japanese. If you want to learn this in way more detail, I'd recommend watching my 2-year video where I go over all the hours that I tracked learning Japanese. So the fundamental idea of immersion to me is about input. At first, you don't know anything about the language, so when you're listening to conversations, when you're listening to the real language being used, the words you're hearing don't sound like anything. But if you continue to expose yourself and give yourself enough time, you'll start to notice words that come up again and again. For me, I did a few months of Japanese study to learn the kana, some basic grammar, and after that, I started my 3 to 4 hours a day immersion journey back in March of 2021. And I'm really into YouTube and game streaming, so right from the start, that's the kind of content I started watching. And even though I couldn't understand much, when there were times where I could almost understand what's going on, that's when I take the time to pause, maybe look up some new words, analyze the sentence, analyze the grammar structure. For example, I still remember one of the first flashcards I added was the word for obsidian, which is extremely important in all the Minecraft videos I was watching. And if you weren't doing exactly what I was doing, there's no universe in which this word would come up in a textbook or something. But for me, knowing that word was so important to understanding all the videos I was watching and added a ton to my comprehension. It's exactly the same for reading too, where you just try to understand as much as you can, going slowly, looking up new words and grammar. From there, I would take those new words and grammar points from my listening and from my reading, and then add them to a flashcard deck, which I use a program called Anki for. So because of that, when I study the words again later, since I've taken those words from real Japanese, from hopefully content I was really interested in, I should be able to picture that scene in context where the word was used, and it just really gives me a lot of meaning to the language and helps everything just stick so much more. So yeah, the whole process is watch YouTube, read books, do flashcards, and then maybe read some grammar explanations along the way. So yeah, let's get back into the video. And yeah, I guess the big thing I want to do in this video is talk about my goals from the last video. So you will see that, bam, right here, I had 4 goals. So number 1 was to finish studying the grammar all the way through N1. Number 2 was pass the N1. Number 3 was to make videos in Japanese, and number 4 was to make 10,000 flashcards. And well, if you saw the title, you probably already figured out how one of those went. Yeah, obviously the N1 was a major part of how I approached Japanese for my last year. But the reality was that N1 prep period for me was only about 3 months, from September to December, whenever the test was. So other than that, I just kept on my reading, listening as usual. Just continue to push my Japanese forward. And I actually did some time tracking just for those study portions of my Japanese, which I will move over so that you can see them right here. So we have grammar first. So grammar I did 16 hours in. That is basically grammar list study and grammar videos. So I watched a lot of Deguchi Nichigo. He's teaching Chinese people, but his videos are just all in Japanese for the higher level grammar. And I really enjoy his content for grammar videos, although I haven't watched them. I mean, it's been months now since I've watched those, but that's what I was doing for that grammar period. Also consulting grammar lists, just kind of going through, making sure I hit every single point for the test. Number 2 was the italki lessons. So these were, I guess, coming from the practice tests, which I haven't talked about yet, but questions from the practice test, questions from the grammar where I wanted to kind of maybe try out to use the grammar in a conversation or to ask questions about how the grammar is working. That was honestly some of the most valuable study time I had in this whole little section here. And then we had the practice tests, which I did 44 hours. And that's not all doing practice tests. This is also practice test review time, which is the majority of this time, where I would do an N1 practice test, just an entire test, right? A past test. And after that, I would look at the answers, go over all of the ones I missed, and just try to see if I can figure out what was I missing. Yeah, and so the last section is reading. And this is just reading as normal, just reading books. I got a lot of books back there, reading online, news articles, anything like that. 185 hours. So yeah, it's about 3 times more than all the other study combined. So I didn't want to just do practice tests for 200 hours. I wanted to try to push my overall level forward such that I would be better at reading, because reading I felt was by far my weakest area. And as you will see in my test results, it kind of was. So let me go get that. Yeah, so I got a 27 for the vocab section, 24 for the reading, and then 39 for the listening, for 90 out of 180, which of course is a failure. One of the things that I started thinking about was like, okay, so I'm like right at this line of being able to pass this test, right? So like that should theoretically make me the level that the test creators expect a person to have to be able to pass the test. I'm in this place where I have both a high level of comprehension on certain types of content, and then also I feel completely lost in many other types of content. Now that I've like done the test, I feel pretty strongly that everything on there is pretty common Japanese that you would be used in a daily life. Like, I think it's all, assuming that you want to function at a high level in Japanese, right? Everything on this test is basic. Like, it's, and that is a bit of a dichotomy, because you can just be at a very low level and that's fine if that's all you want to get to. But if you want to get further than that, everything is common on this test. Like, unless you're only missing 1 or 2 questions, I just don't see how the N1 is really going to give you a stamp of fluency, because I was missing so much crap and I still almost passed. It is a little funny that that's basically the same conclusion I had last year, where like I feel good in many areas of Japanese, but in other areas I just can't do it. I feel lost. And I guess really the only thing that's changed is now I feel confident in a lot more things than before. I feel like, I did get really caught up in the practice tests. And, it was something I was worried I was going to do. And you could even see it in my time. Like, I definitely did 3 times more reading than practice tests. Like, I did way more reading than practice tests. But I feel like the practice tests took up most of my mental energy, if that makes any sense. Like, it was just something I was thinking about a lot, kind of worried about, knowing that I wasn't passing some of these practice tests, and then knowing after I was starting to pass them how close it was. I feel like I should have just read more, because the reading practice tests I don't think helped me at all improve my reading score. Yeah, and the kind of the stupidest part was the grammar study. I think, like, I did go through every single grammar point, but I just don't think that context is really very good to retain that information. Because I remember so many times where I'd be doing this practice test and I'd like look at this grammar point and it's like, I know I watched the video on that grammar point, but I don't remember anything about it. And so it is just remarkably ineffective. But the reverse, where I did the practice test first and then happened to watch the grammar point after, that actually did help it stick more. But yeah, you just can't brute force your comprehension, right? Like the point of the test was to try to push my level forward. But there are certain aspects of Japanese that you can't like push forward without just the grind of it. And, overall, I think in 3 months, I could have done more reading hours than I did. Yeah, okay, I don't really want to talk about the JLPT anymore. It was something. Let's move on to the next section here, which is goal number 3 was the 10,000 card goal. So again, this is just very arbitrary of a thing to set, but it's kind of like just this idea of I wanted to continue doing Anki the same way I'd done before, continuing to add new words. And yeah, I definitely passed this. I had 13,000 cards, so quite a lot. And during N1, I was doing 20 words a day, so that really helped me push over the edge there. After the N1, I started like winding down my Anki usage. I actually tried to stop, but I couldn't, just because like Anki is so integrated in my daily life, where like when I do my walks, I like to do Anki. So I was just doing it, just kind of like out of habit, I guess. But eventually, I did take like a pretty substantial break, and then after that Anki break, I created a brand new flashcard deck. And so the idea of that was to just leave my baggage of the first 2 years behind me, and just like as an advanced learner now, again arbitrary, but as an advanced learner now I can study some like fresh new material and think about what is going to push my level forward from now, not what was going to push my level forward back then. So I'm kind of like not even adding all the new words I see now in this deck. I'm just kind of adding things that I think are going to help me. And then also bringing in cards from before that I'm forgetting. So I didn't delete the old deck, I just like stopped using it. Like for example, I just like misread the word hiro, like to pick up something. And so I was like, you know what, I'll just put it in the deck, like who cares? Like I know the word, but I misread it once. Let's just like look over it a few times in Anki, that's what it's for. I'm just doing whatever with Anki. I actually like doing Anki, especially as part of my daily life, just as something to do on my phone. So we're just gonna keep it up, but at this point in my life, I'm not going to stay up late and kind of like do Anki at the end of the day to make sure I do it, which was something I was doing, fairly frequently before. I mean, not every day, of course, but I'm not going to be Anki grinding like I was. And of course, my last goal was to make a YouTube video in Japanese, and I not only did one, I did 2 videos. I wanted to like talk a little bit more in detail about how I made those, because especially if you're like a Japanese learner, I feel like it's kind of interesting because once again, I'm kind of hitting this like confident, not confident section. Both of these videos are scripted, right? I wrote the whole script in Japanese, and then I felt compelled to pop open ChatGPT and I paste it in and just like say, okay, ChatGPT, give me some corrections. And some of those I used. When I prompted it in Japanese as well. And I thought, I guess I didn't really test this, but I thought that if I asked it the question in Japanese, then it would give me, like, from the Japanese language perspective corrections, as opposed to, like, English to Japanese translation perspective. I don't need the translations, where I just, like, I can write Japanese perfectly fine, but I just don't have the confidence to know if this is, like, a natural way to express it. The other aspect of this, though, is, like, with my level of Japanese, I'm able to look at the, like, whatever it produces and like understand it and decide whether it's more natural or not. Because a lot of the times it would say, oh, this phrasing is more natural. And I look at it and be like, yes, that is more natural. I just couldn't remember it, right? And along those lines as well, we have the ChatGPT thing. And I also talked with my italki teacher about the script. Actually, only the first video. The second video, I didn't consult her on. But for that first video, I read the whole script aloud, like paragraph by paragraph, and she offered me again like grammar corrections, natural phrasing corrections, and things like that to it. And I don't know how to feel about this really. Like maybe I can get some comments on this topic, but like, should I aim to not use this? My Japanese would not be as good in those videos had I not had both of those elements like helping to boost my level of Japanese. Just like with the corrections I received, I feel like I was able to produce Japanese at the level I understand it versus the level I'm able to speak right now. Because if I try to make those videos, like as I'm doing right now, I have an outline, but I don't really have a script for this video. If I was just going to try to talk in Japanese, I would not be able to produce those videos. Definitely that goal was a good goal for me. I want to do more videos. I want to keep getting better at my Japanese script writing. And then when I went to Japan, I picked up this book. I picked up like a bunch of books, but I just thought like this might be a good idea of what my reading level in Japanese is, because like this has a lot of technical explanations, kind of like again about the Shinkansen. It says on the front, Shinkansen Gijutsu no Hon. This is kind of like my strong suit in Japanese, where it's like concrete, like kind of technical stuff. I feel like I'm able to kind of like process that a lot better than maybe like more feelings-based stuff where I'm trying to like, what is this person thinking? What are they feeling? I feel like that's where I drop the ball all the time, where I'm reading like a fiction book and I don't know what the character is like. He's like saying something and it's like, I feel this or whatever. And I just like I'm not really getting it. But like with the technical kind of stuff, like me, I just look up the word and like, oh, that's what that word means. Like there's kind of only one interpretation, right? And on the N1 specifically, those reading sections had a lot of that kind of untechnical feelings-based thing. Again, I just think that's just practice, right? Just read more. And maybe like don't read a train book, but read something that actually works on those points. But the train book was very interesting. I loved the train book. And I thought I'd give another example of a light novel I'm reading. Having a good time with this one. But the reason I'm mentioning it is because I did a hour-long reading speed test. And this is something I normally don't do in my life. But I thought that it would be good to just kind of like get a benchmark for my reading ability now. Because, I felt that it's really improved, but I haven't really like tested it. And I found that in that book, I was able to do 10,200 characters in an hour. Overall, very impressed with that performance, especially considering about a year ago where I was doing a little bit more of that reading speed measurement tests at various points, and I was getting like 4,000, 5,000 characters pretty consistently there. So like, I felt that I've gotten better, and clearly like in the numbers I've gotten better. So again, it's just awesome. Yeah, what the hell, let's do another book too. So this one is basically like a biography essay type thing about one of my favorite YouTubers, Oraf-kun from the Dozurusha Minecraft channel. And I read this in like 6 hours, like over 2 days. I just kind of like blazed right through it. Super easy stuff. I mean, it's just like, I'm just reading Japanese, right? Like, that's what gets me excited about this. I'm reading Japanese, reading stuff I'm interested in. Of course, I'm into YouTube. I really like this, their comedy on the Minecraft channel over there. And just to hear a little bit about behind the scenes and stuff like that. Like, I'm just reading Japanese, and it just gets me fired up. So we're going to end the video now with my goals for the future, which is a section I put in last time as well. I came up with 4 goals again, and the first one is probably the only real goal, to be honest, but I want to get a lot better at output. And this is not only the Japanese video stuff I talked about, but also just talking to people, like talking to Japanese people in Japanese, trying to be able to get a lot better at just like daily life conversations, which I've not had a ton of experience with. When I did go to Japan last month, as I talked about, I was able to, I would say I didn't have a lot of conversations, but I was able to ask questions in Japanese and kind of like solve my problems, I guess, like my travel problems, which is honestly a much lower bar than the level that I'm trying to aim at with this, where I just want to like have like food conversations or like culture conversations or stuff like that. I have spent some time in Hello Talk this last year, where I did a series of like moments where you just kind of like, I wrote like a paragraph and uploaded it and had some conversations with people and messages and chat rooms and stuff. But really, it's like not a whole lot. And I just feel like I'm going to have to push that a lot harder to make some serious progress there. Because I'm able to talk right now, but I need to do like 100, 200, 300 hours to really noticeably improve my level, I think, at this point. Yeah, and another thing with output is I started a pitch accent teacher on italki. Those lessons are done all in Japanese, so to that extent, it is also output practice. But just to sort of remind myself that doing pitch accent correctly does not really count for improving my like ability to have a Japanese conversation, because it really doesn't matter. And honestly, I probably wouldn't even be doing it if I didn't have the like Japanese videos goal that I have, where I want to like read my scripts well. And so to that end is why I wanted to start studying that. And next goal is I'm going to retake the N1, and I wonder if some of you people are like thinking he's done, but I'm not done. And really, it's just that reason I said before, where my friends are in Atlanta where the test is. So I'm going to go visit them for a week and hang out and do the test while I'm at it. So, but I'm not going to be doing this like gigantic 3-month prep. I feel like I've already improved a lot since I took the test. I mean, it's almost like 6 months away now where I'll be giving it another shot again. So yeah, hopefully that'll go well. So the next 2 goals, honestly, are pretty minor, but I wanted to include them anyway because it's something I've been thinking about for a long time. So the first one, and they're both about writing Japanese. So the first one is kana nuryoku, and that's like instead of QWERTY input where you type SHI to type the letter shi, instead you would just hit a single character. And I don't know what that character is yet because I haven't studied it, but you would hit one character to get that letter. It's a different way of typing Japanese, and I want to give it a shot. I want to see how hard it is to like learn, see if I type faster with it. And the last goal is going to be practice writing, kind of like along the same lines as before, but this time with a pen and a paper in the real world. A couple weeks ago, I went to a local Japanese meetup, and I realized I couldn't write my name on the name tag in kana, and it's like kind of pathetic for somebody who studied Japanese for 4,000 hours. So yeah, I got this thing on Amazon. It's like a calligraphy writing set, or it's got like the all of the inks and like brushes and stuff that you need to do full-on kanji calligraphy writing. So hopefully I'll do like a stream or something with that and have some fun with that, because again, something I've never done before. Overall, I want to just keep getting better, right? Like keep getting better at Japanese. It doesn't happen as often anymore because it's become so normal, but I still feel that like overall excitement that I'm able to use Japanese. It's just like at a level that's wildly beyond what I kind of imagined I could do when I started. When I started, I did not think I would really keep this up for this long. From failure to N1 to wherever I go, that is my 3rd year of Japanese. So we'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching.
ことが少しでも胸の中にもし潜んでるなら無理して言う必要もないけどいつでも